Hey everybody, it's Tmika with Scrap the World, and I am here with a Scrapbook Pal video. Today we will be creating a super cute easel card focusing on Lawn Fawn's Lift the Flap circles. Let me show you the items that I will be using. You can check out all of the details on this card and how to make it over on Scrapbook Pal's blog. So let's get started. We'll start out using Gina K Designs ink and of course the Lift the Flap circles from Lawn Fawn. We'll also be using Avery Elle's stamp set, Thanks. We will be using Spellbinders Cinch and Go 4 flower die set. Also, Avery Elle stamps called Foliage and some 3D foam squares. Also some 1/4 inch scrappy tape, and then you'll need some nesting dies. I'm using some stitch circles. You will just need at least 3 dies, 4 if you have them. So we're going to start out with some white cardstock and the Avery Elle Fall Foliage stamp set. I'm going to use the Thank You in this stamp set. We're going to do a little bit of fussy cutting. I promise you it won't be much. After you stamp out the Thank You, you just want to go ahead and fussy cut that out using just a close edge. I like to use a little bit of a border outside my stamp set, and then I follow the stamp almost exactly. To get those fussy cut out, I'm going to add the 3D foam squares to add a little bit of dimension on the front of my card. I don't need them to be as wide, so I just cut them in half. Now we're going to take our base cardstock. This is going to be the base of our card. I'm using black heavyweight cardstock, and I just score it in half. It doesn't have to be exact, so I can fold it over and get a nice crease, because what we're going to do is take our nesting dies, the largest one, or whatever size that you want to make, the largest of that, and leave a little bit of space. So I'm going to cut this card down a little bit so that when I run it through my die cutting machine, it won't interfere with the sides. And again, I'm going to take that tallest or the widest nesting die and just leave a little space and run it through. So this is what it should look like. You have a nice little place where you can fold up your card, and it's really easy to do that. Just leave yourself a little border. You want to go ahead and cut another piece with that same size out in the same color cardstock, and then if you're using the nesting dies like I am, cut 1 in piece number 2 and 3 in the lower piece. And then if you have a 4th one, go ahead, because this is what's going to be your sentiment. Cut a 4th one out. Otherwise, just cut a 4th circle out so that you can have a place to write your sentiment. So now it's time to cut out the Lift the Flap circles. I'm going to use the largest circle, and I'm just going to cut this out in a piece of white cardstock. So that's cut out. It leaves a little piece on there where you can attach it to your card. I like to cut that off because I like to layer and add things. So I just cut the little perimeter off. It has a little guide. Just cut right around that little guide, and that's it. Alright, so I'm grabbing my Spellbinders Cinch and Go 4, and I'm going to cut that out several times. 1 in some plain black cardstock, and then 2 each in 2 different pattern papers. It's best if you use a double-sided paper. That way you can cut 2 on one side and 2 on the opposite side if you want to create just a variety of colors for your card. Otherwise, cut out as many or as little times as you'd like. Alright, now it's time to just do a little bit of flower molding. I got my little foam pad out and my circle tools that I'm going to use. And I omitted the biggest flower in this set. I'm just using the 2nd and 3rd and a little bit of the smallest flowers just for some variety. But all I'm doing is molding around the flower, pressing it in so that it cups up, and pressing it, flipping it over to the opposite side and pressing it in so they cup down. So you'll see in a second when I layer the flowers one on top of the other, I have one going up and one going to the back. So that's basically what I'm doing. To get your flower to mold a little bit better, sprinkle a little bit of water on it. Just spray a little bit of water. It'll help to manipulate the flower a little bit more. So I'm taking my leaves, and all I'm doing is folding them in half so they can have a little bit of dimension. And I wanted those to be just pure black. So they'll match my base and they'll stick out aside from all the colors in the rest of the flower set. So here I have my sets together. I have 4 sets of flowers, and then I have the little strays in the black that I'm going to place randomly on the card. So we're at the point where we need to just go ahead and build the flower. I have some tiny little brads, and again, I'm just layering 1 flower going up and 1 flower going down. All right, if you were able to cut out a smallest fourth circle, then great. If not, I hope you cut out a fourth of your smallest circle, like an extra piece, so that you can stamp your sentiment. And I'm using this Thanks stamp set from Avery, Elle, and I cut up that little part that said so very much. So I can layer it or center it in it'll fit inside the circle. So I go ahead and I stamp that with my Gina ink and get that so that it can be layered on top of another piece of cardstock. So now I'm just going to add a little bit of scrappy tape to the back of this sentiment and layer it on top of my cardstock. Now this is going to be right up under the lift of flap. This is going to be like the little peekaboo message. So grab your card base, the one where we folded over the paper and made connecting circles, and fold one of the pieces in half. And that is how your card becomes an easel. Very, very easy. So you're going to grab that extra piece that we cut, and it's just going to be attached to the bottom half of the half circle. So I'm applying a little bit of scrappy tape to that edge. I don't want any bulk. Don't use any hot glue or anything. Just add your adhesive and then line the two circles up from the bottom and adhere them together. And it's going to create a nice little easel for your card. Now you can go ahead and start layering your card. We are at the end stretch, guys. So take your layers, just if you use the nesting die, they should just be according to size. My white cardstock is my base. I have some pattern paper that's going to go right on top of that. Now when you get to the little peekaboo window, try to center that as best as you can and put it right on the top. And then add your flap, lift the flap, only applying tape at the top half. On this die, there's a little score mark to show you where you need to put your adhesive. I would use something flat. I wouldn't use anything like hot glue or pop dots, but add your little adhesive there and line it up as best you can and secure that edge. Now, you don't have to add as many layers as I do. You can stop here, add a sentiment, and call it a day. But I went ahead and I cut this extra piece out, which I said in the beginning. I'm adding some pop dots to that because I want to add the card, give the card some more dimension. This is that last layer. It's going to go on the top or the front of the lift the flap, and that is going to adhere right there, dead center. And I am going to also add my thank you and layer my flowers onto the top of this card. I use hot glue for my flowers. I kind of just arrange them as I see fit. There is no right or wrong way to layer your flowers, but you want to try to not get it on the lift flap part, otherwise the recipient would not be able to open it. So I stick my leaves in there, tuck them in underneath the glue that I've added to that flower there, and then just kind of layer around. You'll see I'll use the tiny little flowers as an added little embellishment to the card. So that pretty much wraps it up. I'm going to go ahead and let this play out so you guys can see how I put the card together. I'm going to leave my flap as is because I have a lot of flowers and things layered on top, so it's heavy enough where it won't flap in the wind. But a tip is you can use a little Velcro dot to keep it closed, and the recipient will just pop that open, read the message, and push it back. So either way works great. You can't see it either way because that little tab down at the bottom can hide it. I had to grab some pliers for these little tiny ones because I do want to add the hot glue because I believe it's secure and they'll hold these flowers. But being that it's really tiny, it kind of can get your fingers a little bit, so be careful. So all I'm doing is placing the tiniest little of the Cinch and Go 4 dies, the tiniest little flowers there to add just a little bit of extra to the card. So I think it helps to just make it nice and fluffy and pretty. So that's it with the flowers. I'm going to go ahead and add my sentiment. The thank you, again, that's popped up on dimensionals. I'm just going to layer that one on top of the other. And to add some bling to the card, I got some flatback bling in like silver color to go along with that, and I'm just placing that in random places on the card. And then I'm also going to use 3 of them to save as a stop for the lift the top half of the card, so that makes it the easel. You need it to be able to stand on something when you have it in the upright position. So I'm going to place 3 of those bling pieces down and in a row towards the bottom. I use the first one, I hold up the top and use the first little bling piece to create the line or where I want it to be. You can just let it go after that and then just follow through the path. You put as many as you want. Some people put flowers there. Some people even put a sentiment and add some dimensional to it and hold that up. So that's the layering of this card. I hope you guys enjoy what you've seen, and I hope you guys will try it. Don't forget to check out the blog post at scrapbookpal.com for all of the directions for this card and a list of the items that I used in this project. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like the video if you like it, and I will talk to you soon.